What's going on, everybody? LK here, back at it again with another video, and today some more Dragon Ball FighterZ for y'all. So today I want to talk about a pretty interesting character. This character had a really bad reputation in Season 1, but overall, if you look at the scope of Dragon Ball FighterZ in general, this character has oddly enough not been too popular, and I am talking about Gotenks. So today I want to talk about him as a character, all his strengths, all the things they've done to him since Season 1, because they've done a lot of this character to Season 1, and why I sort of think, despite this character being pretty strong, and people saying he's strong, he's not played as much as he was back then.
Hi, this is Gilbert Gottfried. This is about, Arc-size game legend LordKnight. Check into it, and subscribe it. And you can ask all the people who like it. Do it now!
If we're going to talk about Gotenks, we have to go all the way back to Dragon Ball FighterZ Season 1. And before any patches, this game was quite different. So for example, this you could not reflect while you were blocking. Android 21 had an actual infinite combo that would kill you if she hit you quite quickly, even from round start, starting from that. Android 16 had a ton of different things, including the old level 3 that instead of, now this is pretty common in Season 3, where you are pretty far away from your opponent, he was like right here and you had to block a mix-up right away, and this was a hard knockdown as well. Adult Gohan had all sorts of nonsense as well, including this move that led into a left-right and a high-low. So with all these discoveries happening pretty quickly, Gotenks went relatively under the radar. I remember thinking, and a bunch of other players thinking too, that hey, this character probably is really stupid, but we just don't know how to pull these tools yet and make them effective. So the main thing being, he had multiple ways to do block strings into 50-50s. We're all familiar with auto combo because of Season 1, but he had this, which didn't have landing recovery back at that time. This didn't have landing recovery back at the time. This did not have landing recovery back at that time. So he had a bunch of ways he could just mix you with a lot of assists. His level 3 used to give you a 50-50 as well. You can't do it anymore though. If you super jumped here, you could keep an air option. I don't actually think you had to super jump, but you could keep an air option here and go into a high-low because he's airborne, but they took that away from him as well. So what ended up happening in Season 1 was, despite all these changes, he still kept this, and he got a bunch of high-lows with many assists. And we talked about before how if you can do offense with many assists, it's a good thing. It means you're flexible. It means a lot of characters work with you. Gotenks didn't necessarily need high block stun to do 50-50s, and we saw it with Gotenks Adult Gohan. This has plenty of block stun, 29 is just about the same as a beam. Beams are generally 30, but for the most part, characters don't easily get high-low mix-up specifically off this amount of block stun, so it was definitely like a special thing about him. Now, despite this being the same still, it's basically still the same move, they made a huge major change that affected his mix-up game, which is the main reason why I think he's used a lot less in general. His jump L, all 3 hits are not overhead anymore. If you could believe this, if you started the game later, like in Season 2 or Season 3, all 3 hits of Gotenks jump L used to be overhead. So the issue with this was that when he does that, the second hit was overhead as well. So if he did this, the second hit of the overhead and the low would hit at the same time. Now that it's a mid, it does not work this way anymore, and it greatly reduces his block stun mix-up game. So all those things, plus how the game worked in Season 1 / early Season 2 before they made character changes, pretty much had him at the top of the tier list. The old guard cancel was really kind of broken. If you got a successful guard cancel, you could combo, and there was a lot of mix-up level 3s back in the day. 16 still had like a really good one, for example. But between them making guard cancel stronger, they mostly made guard cancel stronger specifically because of Kazunoko's team. Because when you did this, you could not guard cancel out of that at all, so you just had to hold that 50-50. They generally want people to be able to get out of situations if they know they're coming, It's pretty hard to build anti-guard cancel mix-ups. It's still possible, but it's much harder than it used to be, which is a good thing in my opinion. With that out of the way, what does he still have that's really good? Some of you might have been wondering, when is he going to talk about Ghost Oki? We do not call it Goki on this fucking channel. That's stupid. It's Ghost Oki. This move is ridiculous for how this game works, because one of the strengths of the defender is that when you slide knock them down, they have a bunch of ways to try to vary their wake up to try to get out of what you're doing, and this super does not care about that at all. And you don't need assist to keep up your offense, which is extra good in Season 3. I will keep repeating this anytime the character has this, because it is extra important in this season compared to Season 2. His neutral is still really good too. So he's really small, he's really fast, he has a bunch of ways to not only move around the screen, but attack from angles that are hard to hit him from, and he's very mobile. He has moves to move around in the air that cancel into each other. He can get to you from full screen. He has a lot of flexible control in neutral that other characters do not have. All of that is very good. Even though this is nerfed, like it's not nowhere near as good as it used to be, it's still a pretty good move, and they keep on buffing the hands, and you can cancel things into each other, so he's very flexible and unpredictable. He's also pretty good at staying on you alone without assist, which is again a pretty good thing for this season. This can be charged and be +1. It gives you kind of a mini game the same way that Bardock's Tyrant Lancer gives you a mini game where you can reflect the 5H, but if he just holds it, it will hit you. Or he could just choose to make himself plus with the EX hands. So the other thing that has people pretty hyped for him is that he can cover all the snap timings alone. Unfortunately, for some reason, you can't set this to random at all. Here you can just set it to like various different timings, but basically no matter what, he can cover with his Beyblade. It is pretty important because snap is one of the main ways that you can kind of control somebody, because they can't, even if they could vary their incoming, they still can't do as much as when you knock them down, slide knockdown, and definitely not as much as a soft knockdown. So being able to do that is a really big thing, a big advantage he has compared to a lot of other characters. So what's the problem, right? He does have a lot of interesting strengths. I think people are still thinking about his nerfs. He has been nerfed a lot. Remember that all his block stun mix-up tools have been nerfed. Some of his super strong neutral tools like EX Beyblade have been nerfed. His level 3 has been nerfed from what it was. It's still like a good one. It still has advantages like you could do in the air and stuff like that. But the mix-up is not as strong as it used to be. There's still tricks you can do, but nothing as direct. That's just an unseeable high-low. And specifically because of the block string thing, that means a lot of his good setups, including Ghost Oki, are all locked behind hitting them. This is a pretty big issue of a lot of characters in general. The devs kind of have a thing where they don't want characters to be good at everything, and I think that's pretty fair, to be honest. We've seen what happens when Gotenks actually. Let me correct myself. I don't think we've actually seen what the strongest Gotenks has ever looked like, because no one played the pre-Evo Gotenks to that level. Remember, the Gotenks that won the World Tour Final Season 1 was a nerfed version of Gotenks already. So what would it have been like if they just kind of left the patch rock, the initial release of Dragon Ball FighterZ, rock a little while longer and people really fleshed out Gotenks? We don't really know. He might have been truly the best, most broken character this game has ever seen. So the issue I had with Bardock in Season 2, he kind of has, you have to hit them in order to get all this nice stuff, meaning you need to use a blocks and assists. He is Gotenks, so you can't use him to give himself mix-ups. So you have to play like a Kid Buu, or one of the new blocks and assists like Bardock B, or Adult Gohan B, along with just like this reputation of this character's been nerfed a lot, or this character's hard, like I have to use Ghost Oki is one example. Negative Edge isn't the most intuitive mechanic in a fighting game. They usually give characters negative edge tools because they think the tool is really strong. So that is an example of locking something behind execution because they think it's too strong. They've done this a bunch of times with other characters. The main one you would think of off the top of your head would be a character like Zato 1. So in the end, it means you have to kind of build teams with him more in mind, making him a little bit greedy. Flexibility is an important factor. Remember that flexibility is being able to work with a lot of characters and giving a lot of characters tools while also getting stuff from a lot of characters. So he needs a little help to maximize his full potential. If you don't have high blocks and assists, then it's going to be harder to access his best tools for offense. That's it for our little man's Gotenks. Hopefully that all makes sense. It feels like at some point in every season I think about playing this character, mostly because of the stuff about knockdown, but I usually go back to the fact that he's a little bit too greedy and I have to pick another character just to play him as well. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.